I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about he was relieved we broke up.
It's painful.
Nobody wants to hear that your ex is relieved. That's a terrible feeling. You want them to suffer, right? If you're going through a breakup, you know, if you have to go through it, you want at least to see the other person is having a hard time with it. Not that it's a relief. But we talk about this all the time. That's actually one of the big things that a dumper goes through is that relief stage, that separation elation.
And it can be so difficult to understand when you are the one that's impacted by the shock of the breakup, the grief, the loss. After all, this wasn't anything that you wanted. It sounded like they initiated it. So being on the other end of that, it can really make you feel disconnected to your ex.
Yeah. And a lot of times after that, your ex will get cold and unresponsive, even irritated or agitated at you, and it makes it feel even worse. I've got a good email today, though, that's going to show you why somebody would be relieved. One of the situations where you might see somebody getting relieved because of the relationship ending, right? And they're like, oh, I can kind of be free again. So this is from a woman in her early 40s, and this guy is in his really early 30s. Okay, so there's an age gap here, but it goes beyond that. Okay, now she is a single mom and she's been divorced, and they have been together for 7 years. Okay, so remember, he's in his early 30s, and basically he met her when he was in his very early 20s. So you can imagine 7 years. When you start dating somebody when you're that young, you're gonna see a lot of breakups.
Right, and it's not just about the length of time here. It's about when the relationship started and their emotional maturity at that time.
Exactly. Those two things together make it a lot more likely to break up. When people start dating this early, like the really early 20s, a lot of times they don't last 7 years. So I think that's saying a lot that it did make it to 7 years. But there's even more going on to this situation. You're going to find this one interesting. So, like I said, she is a single mom to a couple of kids. And obviously, he's been around for a long time, so he knows those children really well. She says, sometimes he slept at my house, got along well with my kids. My life is difficult. No help from anyone.
Yeah.
That's tough. Being a single parent, taking care of 2 kids, not having any family to help, and I don't know if the father is around. Sounds like not, maybe, but it makes it even tougher.
And in a world or a society, at least here in the U.S., that really is built for, you know, a 2-parent type of household. It can be hard to manage the kids going to school, feeding them. You know, so much of your time starts being revolved around making an income and making sure that your kids are okay, you know, physically healthy and also emotionally okay.
But not only that, how do you have time to spend one-on-one romantically with your partner with 2 kids there all the time?
Yeah.
So, she says he is very calm and patient. Our relationship was never convenient. We were together despite the difficulties. His parents were separated in the same house, but different bedrooms. And were good friends with parallel relationships during the marriage. Well, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, different dynamic.
Your parents are still living in the same house, but they're both dating other people. Okay? Very odd.
I mean, whatever works, but it does make me question if they are enmeshed, if there's any residual feelings that are left over from their ended marriage. Who knows?
And the next thing that came to my mind also is what she actually says. He believes all relationships are doomed to fail after marriage. And I was thinking, how would that living arrangement, seeing your parents live like that, impact your view on marriage? I mean, wouldn't that be bizarre if you saw both of your parents living together but married to other people? That's really out there if you think about it.
That's true. And I wonder how old he was when all of this happened. And how the parents came to that decision. If it was something that was amicable, if it was something that did cause a lot of tension in the home and a lot of fighting. Does he have siblings? What were their reactions to it?
I can't imagine
so many
it.
questions.
I can't imagine it because my parents were split when I was like 2 years old. So the idea of thinking they were going to be living together but married or dating other people, that's just wild to me. That's just... So, but you can imagine the impact it has on his views of relationships.
And I also wonder if her saying that he believes all relationships are doomed to fail is because that's something he said or because of the general attitude he has towards relationships.
My take is that that's something he probably says. Maybe not, but I see a lot of times when people say, I'm not good in relationships never last. You're in trouble with that person because they have like this defeatist attitude that will probably get them to the point where it's like, well, what's the point?
Right. And there's already that seed of self-doubt.
Yeah, it's already, we know it's not going to work out anyway, and if it's already getting hard, we're at that point. What's the point? I see a lot of people like that. All right, let's go on. In 2022, I asked him to move in together. He broke up with me because he has no experiences, meaning that he was in his early 20s when he met me. He didn't want to take decisions about life. He freaked out. He said, I met you when I was in my early 20s and I woke up 30.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's honest.
And when we were just reviewing this email, when he had said that, that's hitting the nail right on the head. And that's not to say that the 7 years of your relationship was meaningless or just that it was, nothing to him, but rather, emotionally speaking, making decisions, being able to experience the consequences of those adult decisions is very different when you're in a partnership, especially when there is somebody who's older. It seemed like, her having kids, she was in a different stage of life than he was.
Yeah. And that's what we talk about with age gaps. Like here we have a big age gap, but because he was so young, now he's like, I'm in my 30s. I don't even know what happened in my 20s. And if I keep going, if I move in with you and continue to raise these kids, now it's like I never had my young, youthful 20s. And that causes a lot of people to break up. Usually they get to their 40s, right? And then they're like, they have that midlife crisis.
Or sometimes it's high school sweethearts that I do see a lot in this type of situation.
Yeah. In January of 2022, we broke up. I begged for about 5 months, then began no contact. Wow. So she was begging for a while. So that isn't helping her case there.
Right. And if you think about it, if she did have kids and he was such a prominent figure in her life, I'm sure he was also a resource in helping out, as a family unit.
Yep.
So for somebody who's been in your life for years to suddenly be gone, that is a life-changing experience. That is a transformation where every day is now going to look very different than it did before. Yeah,
and the other thing is that we have 2 kids that probably knew this guy almost all of their life or most of their life, and now he's gone. So now we have 3 people affected by this breakup in immediate proximity. In summer of 2022, I came across him with his new girlfriend. Greeted politely, didn't react. 10 days later, asked for my things. Wished him the best for his life. Hugged and kissed for goodbye. He was relieved. So they'd been broken up for a while. He thought, oh, she's moved on. She's okay now. Meanwhile, she's still devastated, right? In August, his name day, I didn't text him. In September, for my name day, he texted me Happy Name Day. I politely responded, thank you, and then disappeared. In December, it was his birthday. And Christmas, I didn't text. January, my birthday, he called me. So he keeps reaching out for excuses, but doesn't seem to go anywhere yet, right?
And when you think about it, when he had said, I have no experiences, I can see what he's saying about being able to make his own choices. And at the same time, that gap between early 20s into your early 30s are significant times in your life. I mean, if you think about even the brain, your frontal lobe hasn't even fully developed until your mid-20s.
Yep.
And so she had a profound impact on his life and his functioning, even if he does feel like he missed out on other things. When I see people in long-term relationships, it's not that they have no life experience, it's that they have very different life experience.
Yep. All right, let's go on here. In January, for my birthday, he called me. We talked for half an hour. Me, calm and polite, funny, I said nothing about his girl or us. He asked me to meet. It's a bit surprising, right? I wonder if the girlfriend's still in the picture. I responded casually, yes, but after my exams. He said, of course. Let me, quote unquote, play ball. He was so excited. I agreed. He disappeared. I never called back. I regret. In February, he and his girlfriend went to my favorite singer. We went together every year. Our thing, our habit. That's the worst. You are taking them to do the things that we did?
Or that we wanted to do, or that were tradition for us. So it can feel like that specialness, the one thing that the two of you had together is being torn away from you.
Yeah. In August, his name day, I won't text. In September, if he reaches out again for my name day, what can I do to increase my chances? He is very slow, logical, and loved me deeply, but he wanted to live his life responsibilities free. Now, how does that line up for dating a woman with 2 kids?
Yeah, that's a really great question.
They are nothing but responsibilities all day, every day. And he wants to live a responsibility-free life. How is he can't do that with her. He can't. He just can't.
And him saying that he went from his early 20s to now waking up at 30 tells you that he is in a 30-year-old body, but mentally and emotionally at a more regressed age.
I agree.
I think he was being really genuine with you when he said that. That there are some things out here that I don't feel prepared for because I haven't done them on my own independently.
Yeah, I agree.
When you think about children and when they're growing and developing, when you have helicopter parents that do everything for their kids will never learn. They just end up depending on their parent to do the task. My mother, she would never let me touch the laundry machine, ever. She would get angry. And so there I was in college, 20-something, looking at all these buttons, scared. And so that stage of independence is so, so, so important for someone's development. Them becoming their own person.
I agree. And I think that's a big reason why he was feeling relieved. Because he didn't want to get to that next stage of life without doing what he was supposed to do in his early 20s. So a little bit more here. Also, his environment says, find a girl in your age to have kids with. I won't have any more. He didn't want to take this decision about kids with me. Not a great fan. He wants peace. You're not going to get peace dating somebody with 2 kids. I'm sorry. Even if the kids are wonderful kids, they're going to be kids.
Yeah.
And so if he's looking for a lifestyle with no kids and not taking on those responsibilities and obligations, I don't see how this is going to work out. Right?
Yeah. It's It seems like fundamentally there is an incompatibility there that he may not have discovered until more recently, which is the unfortunate part for you. I don't know if this has been a conversation that the two of you have been having in those 7 years of, what are we going to do if we do want more kids, or if we don't, or how are we going to move in together? After 7 years, a lot of people might be questioning, okay, why haven't they gotten married yet? Has that topic come up? And so it seems to me, maybe just from seeing the story, that several crucial conversations haven't been had or haven't been had enough.
Yeah, and I think it all escalated once she asked him to move in. That's when he was like, oh, I can't do this. But, still she wants to know what she can do to have the best chances here. Well, I mean, this is a tough situation because we're seeing fundamentally two different lifestyles. Someone with kids and not any extra help that you can even say, well, I'll have the kids go to my parents every weekend or every other weekend or once a month so we can go away for the weekend and have these weekend excursions. So that makes it harder. Now we have the age thing where he wants to go off and live his early 20s, which is what I think he's essentially doing. So you can't ignore those things. And right now, as far as we know, he still has this girlfriend. So, I'm not sure what's going to happen if he's dating somebody else. I don't see any chances until that relationship ends or is falling apart.
Right. And it might take some time for him to have the experiences that he wants to have. He may or may not change his mind. And, in your situation, given the fact that you do have kids to take care of and kids that are growing, it's up to you to make the decision of, is this somebody that I'm going to hold out for hope? Or is this a situation where I'm going to open myself to other options that may be more compatible with me, my lifestyle, what I really want, and what's best for my kids?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me personally, I have 2 kids. And there's no way in the world I would date somebody that wasn't going to want to be a huge part of their life and wasn't going to love them in a way that was acceptable to me. I mean, that's how I am. So I personally am not sure how she can even overlook that. Yeah. Because she's not even getting extra help where she could say, I'll manage the schedule so I don't have as much time with my kids, but we can still kind of live like a childless kind of romantic relationship where you have time away. I mean, sure, you could get some babysitters, but obviously there's cost and there's trust involved and all kinds of other issues there. But, I think if in this situation, you got to ask, do you want to get together? And if he says yes, you say okay, and you can either decide if you want to ask if he's still with his girlfriend or not. And if he says yes, that's up to you on how to proceed. I mean, the moral choices there are yours to own, to wrestle with.
And I would say, thinking about what you want, what you need, and what your future might look like. And so in these small interactions that you do have with him, if he does reach out to you for a holiday or for your name day, whatever it is, you have that opportunity to see, where is he at right now? And can I accept where he's at right now? Yeah. Or am I still, thinking about him being this potential partner in my life, or, this idea of who he could be instead of who he really is right now?
Yeah, it's a tough situation, but I think if I'm in your shoes, I'm wanting him to say, I love you, I love the kids, it doesn't matter to me, I've had time to do my own thing, and I realize that this is what I want. And unless I'm getting that attitude and a real genuine, sincere desire to say, I don't care that you have kids, I love your kids, and I want to be involved in their life, anything short of that, I wouldn't tolerate.
And it's risky. It's risky when you have kids. Because if he does feel forced into a situation, or maybe he kind of wants it, kind of doesn't, and does agree to get back together, then that means not only disappointing you potentially, but also potentially disappointing the kids.
Yep.
And so play it forward. Think in your mind different possibilities of what could happen, and I would say protect yourself.
Yeah, and protect those kids, because you don't want them getting attached to him again if he's not really really committed to working things out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a tough situation. Obviously, there's a lot of complexities to it. It's tough when you love somebody, but they're not ready for something. And there's maybe some deal breakers in here too.
Mm-hmm. And the unfortunate part is that people do change all of the time. So after 7 years, he's not going to be that same person that he might have been, in the beginning, halfway through, or even towards the end. Things are constantly changing.
Absolutely. So see what he does. But definitely don't be eager to be with this guy. Make him fight to show you that things will be different and that he's okay with you living your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? All right. So hopefully this one's been helpful to you. If you want to get our help personally, of course, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.